right. We have our participants that are coming in right now. Just want to go ahead and welcome everyone for joining SoCal CCIM. Thank you for joining our presentation today. We'll go ahead and get started in maybe about 30 seconds to a minute and allow the rest of the participants to come on in. I see they're coming in right now, and so Zoom is bringing them in at this time. And so in the meantime, thank you so much for being here. We'll go ahead and get started in about 30 seconds here. So. All right, so why don't we go get started? Again, want to welcome everyone to SoCal CCIM, our Lunch and Learn that we put on every single month. Topic of today is creating certainty in an uncertain market. And especially we know as we're out there doing some transactions out there and everything that we're hearing right now in the marketplace, there's a lot of uncertainty, which is pushing the pause button for a lot of folks at this time. And so what we want to do is we want to try to bring some information to the group and the participants to get a better understanding as to what's really happening out there in the marketplace. And so before we get into that, and I'll explain a little bit more of what the program is, let me go ahead and give some recognition to CCIM. I want to talk a little bit about our mission statement, which is the mission statement of CCIM Institute, is to elevate our members to the highest levels of success in the commercial real estate profession. And we do this every single month, and actually several months where we do it more than once, we do it a couple times, is to bring information to make sure those involved in the commercial real estate industry have proper information, and we give them information that's going to help them be a better commercial real estate broker, a lender, or whatever your profession is in the commercial real estate world. We want to make sure we give you some added tools and some benefits that's going to help you, your career, and your clients. Also want to encourage everyone to follow us on the social media sites that we have, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, along with YouTube. I think all of them are very important, especially with YouTube, because YouTube is where you're going to refine the recording of this presentation along with everything else that we've done for the year. And so it's a really good resource and library that we've put together. Also want to give a big thank you to our SoCal CCIM Board of Directors. There's no way we could do the things that we do without our Board of Directors, and I want to thank each of you so much because with your input, it's really allowed our chapter to be one of the best chapters in the country. So thank you so much for all the effort that you've put into our organization. Also want to give a big thank you and give recognition to each of our sponsors. They really are a big supporting factor to our chapter, and we always want to make sure that we support them just as much as they support us. And so at this time, we'd like to bring in our sponsors to talk a little bit more about who they are and what they do. So why don't we go ahead and start off with Daniel Munoz with Small Business Finance. Daniel, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is you do? Daniel.
Hey, thanks, Gary. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Munoz. I am a SBA 504 specialist with CDC Small Business Finance. We are a nonprofit organization, that works along with third-party lenders to help commercial property purchases and equipment purchases for our small business owners in California, Arizona, and Nevada. We've been around for a little bit over 40 years now, having a pretty surprising year so far, since the beginning of March and going through the pandemic. And, we're here to help our borrowers as much as possible, continue to move forward and see what's going to be their best bet in regards to property purchasing or commercial leasing and even on the equipment side as well. So thanks, Gary. Thanks for having me on today. And if there's any questions that you guys have, I'll fill out my information and just put it all out there for you guys as well.
Yeah, no, thank you as well. And feel free to turn on your camera right now too, Daniel. We'd love to see your face and get some recognition. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, Dino Champagne with Asset Preservation. Dino.
Good afternoon, everyone, and looking forward to the holidays coming up very quickly. Asset preservation, we're a national 1031 qualified intermediary facilitating exchanges nationwide. You'll hear more about me later when we get into the panel discussion. So always happy to be a sponsor and support this great group. It's a fantastic group. So.
Thank you, Dino, for everything you've done. You've certainly helped out my business, and I really appreciate your professionalism and everything you do for my business and for our chapter. Why don't we kick it over to John Baker of Baker Law Group. John? You're on mute, John. There you go.
I thought I had unmuted myself. Anyway, good. Hello, this is John Baker. I'm a real estate attorney, and there's a couple of things that I focus on. As many of you know, one of them is creating and reviewing loan documents. So if you have loan documents that your client is concerned about signing, I can look at them and explain them to your client so they know what they're getting into. I believe in the client should go in with eyes wide open. I'm not here to close the deal or to kill the deal. I'm here to make it well informed. The other thing I focus on is liens, things like easements and liens and trust deeds. And so if there's a lien in the way of your closing a deal, I can help you with that. Appreciate it, Gary, and thanks very much.
Thank you for everything you do, John. You've been a wonderful resource for me, and thank you so much for everything you do for our chapter. We greatly appreciate it. And so Kim Tran, CoStar LoopNet. Kim.
Hey guys, I'm Kim Tran. I'm with CoStar and LoopNet. A lot of you already know me. A lot of you guys are customers. So glad to see you guys on. Yeah, we're excited to support CCIM. Let's see, any news on the CoStar LoopNet front. You may have heard we are in process of acquiring HomeSnap. So that's going to be an interesting change for the company as we start to move into the residential space. I know we're already pulling in new homes data, and that's going to be added to the product at some point in the near future, in addition to all the hotel data. So lots of information coming on board. Big update within the next quarter, we're going to be adding all the CMBS data into the CoStar product as well. So you'll be able to go in there and see, loan status, NODs, all that good stuff for the commercial deals. But yeah, if anybody is not familiar with CoStar, feel free to reach out to me. The commercial data on the CoStar side and all the listings. And then if you need to market a listing and you want to get it to the biggest audience out there, let me know and I can hook you up with some LoopNet stats on your property versus your competitors. Other than that, thanks a lot. Hope everybody has a great holidays.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you for being a great resource, and CoStar and LoopNet. I mean, everything that you guys are involved with is very impressive, and it's very hard to do business without your information. So thank you so much for sponsoring our chapter. Thank you so much. I also want to give recognition to AAR CRE, Sean Polin. With AAR, they've been a wonderful resource and a good partner as well. Kip Kennedy with Coast to Coast Escrow. Ken with Platinum Wealth Group. Earl McCoubrey with Fidelity Bancorp Funding. Andrew Bermudez with Digsy. Along with our newest sponsor, Jeffrey with Incentex. And so last month we had a presentation on cost segregation. And so he saw our group as an opportunity that he wants to get involved with. And so, he wants to support us. So let's get out there and support him along with the rest of our sponsors. Each of them are open for business and would love to hear from you. And so again, sponsors, thank you so much for your time and for everything that you do for us. We would like to give back to you as well. And so thank you so much for your time today and everything that you do. Thank you, sponsors. And so with that, let's go ahead and get into our presentation. And so for our panelists, if you're on here, if you would, please turn on your video screen. And so what we want to do is really bring information to the marketplace, okay? And each of the panelists that are on here are essentially boots on the ground. And each of them are very transactional oriented, which means that without a transaction, there's essentially potentially no job for them, no income coming in, so they're out there, consistently out there just grinding it out and making sure that, that they're doing the best job that they can for their clients. And so what we wanted to do as to bring in boots on the ground to get a better understanding of actually what's happening out there. And so we have different walks of a commercial real estate transaction. So if we think of a transaction of a company that's looking to purchase a property or an investor looking to purchase a property, there's quite a few folks that are part of that particular transaction. Naturally, we have a commercial real estate broker. We typically have a lender. There's always title involved. There's escrow involved or an exchange. There's small business financing. There's an actual physical move. And so what we did is we brought in each of those disciplines to come in here and tell us a little bit more as to what they're seeing out there. And then I believe by talking to these folks, we're going to start to get some things that we're going to hear are pretty consistent, right? And so when we start to hear consistency, we start to hear certainty, right? And so when we start to hear certainty, now we can better educate and advise our clients as to what's going to be the best decision, for them and for their property and for their transaction. And so, so that's really our intent of today's presentation. The Q&A box should be open. So if anyone has any questions, we want to make sure we get them answered for you as well. We want to make sure that everyone's able to participate. So again, if you have any questions, we want to get them answered and making sure that we walk away with some new information here. And so with that, why don't we go ahead and just dive into this. And so, all right, so, panelists, thank you so much for being here today. And so why don't we go ahead and start off with Willie Hugren, okay? And what we want to hear is specifically what's happening in your world. What is specifically that you're witnessing and that you are seeing, not essentially what you're hearing in the news. Okay, we want your personal experience. And so Willie, you do a lot of transactions. You've been in this business for a very long time. What businesses right now do you see are growing at this time and have a need for commercial real estate at this time? Willie.
The stay-at-home work issue has created a lot of opportunities for small office leases. We have a building in Santa Ana. We've been averaging 3 to 5 office leases in an executive suite a week for the last 3-4 months. It's people that are supposed to be working from home but can't work from home, so they have to rent another little office. It's created a lot of opportunities. The other thing that we've seen, some of the high density office users have to take on more space to create social distancing for workstations, cubicles, workstations. It did have to spread them out. So in some cases, some offices have retrenched and some have expanded. Even though, like, I represent a major law firm, their attorneys might be working from home and coming to the office using hoteling offices, not necessarily assigned anymore, but their accounting staff has to be spread out, so they had to take more space. So we're seeing opportunities. For me, being an office broker, I've done more leasing than sales this year, and it's been very active.
And I think it's very interesting that you're saying that, because specifically what you're talking about, Willie, is you're talking about office. I mean, you're talking about a sector that we're hearing consistently that the office market is dead, right? And there's a question whether it's going to come back or not. And per your experience and what you're saying and what you're experiencing, at least on the smaller size offices, you're experiencing something differently, right?
Absolutely.
Now, what about your Class A office space? Do you see anything different there? Is it the same across all office classes?
In my Class A office space deals, the jury's out. We're hearing companies that are going to continue to have some amount of working from home, but not going to be eliminated. There's still going to be a need for office space, maybe not quite as much. I've had discussions with the Irvine company in their office division. They don't know. The jury's out what's really going to happen to the future of office space. I think Google announced that until September of next year, they're still going to be working remotely, but in the future, it's going to come back. There's also discussion about how efficient and how much productivity is occurring working from home. Some industries seem to be doing better, some not as efficiently. So I think the jury is still out what's going to happen in terms of Class A office space in the future, the demands and requirements. When there's synergy and collaboration with other departments, it's not effective working from home. Even with Zoom calls, you're missing, like today, we're missing the interaction of being close together and sharing and collaborating.
And I see some nods there from Dino and from Daniel, and I guess the feeling is mutual, with them, and I think for a lot of people as well. Thank you, Willie. Scott, you're a little newer, to our group here, so maybe you give a little self-introduction of who you are, and then I want you to tell us what you're experiencing out there as it relates to the office market, industrial market, or what are you seeing out there? Because I know you do a lot of commercial moves. So, and you're on mute.
Thanks, Gary. Yeah, my name's Scott Whitted. I'm with Shipment Relocation and Logistics. We have a warehouse in Garden Grove. We have about 120,000 square feet, and I do, 95% commercial moving, warehouses, offices, storage, things of that nature. But what I've been seeing a lot is a lot of companies are that have additional satellite offices are getting out of those leases and going to storage, or they're just really just getting rid of their furniture and we're trashing their furniture. A lot of that's going on. A lot of uncertainty with, they don't know what to do with it, so they just get rid of it, or they say store for a year. So a lot of that's going on. The warehouse market's doing pretty well right now. A lot of city of industry, IE, is doing a lot of activity, moving warehouses, adding space. A lot of bigger banks, mid-sized banks, they're kind of consolidating branches. They're closing one branch, getting it back to their headquarters, or they're being more strategic. That's what I've been seeing of where they're at, where their location is. A lot of younger people working from home. I don't think it's going to last, but so that's what I've been seeing. It's a lot of still uncertainty what's going to happen the next few years with the vaccine, but it's there's a lot of activity, but it's different activity.
And the activity that you're seeing, Scott, if we picture a typical year for you, and we all get a certain amount of prospects that come to our table, consistently throughout the year, right? So if we kind of look at our Decembers in the past years, and we kind of think about the activity that we've had in previous years, and we compare it to today, the activity that you're talking about, how much activity that you're working on today is essentially new clients or the same clients?
Good question. It's a lot of it's the same clients. A lot of it is customers or clients that I've had over the years, or have been fortunate enough to work with. If they trust you, they're going to call you and they're going to want things done. And the new clients, I think, especially today, the new customers are hard to find because it's hard to see them. It's hard to get in front of them because of COVID. So if you calling on customers and new prospects, you're going to want to see them, and they're not. If you don't know you, they're not going to want to see you. So that's, I think, the new clients are coming by referrals. If you're lucky to get a referral, or they're coming by, just luck. That's just what I've been seeing. But if you are calling on new customers, it's a good time to call on people, because no one else is doing it right now, I believe. But you just have to get their name and number and schedule something down the road, hoping for face-to-face interaction, and they'll remember you as the person calling them during the pandemic.
And that's a good point. Dino, similar question, but as far as activity that you're currently working on today, how much activity are you currently working on where it's been existing clientele, existing business you've had, say pre-pandemic, versus new clients that are coming your way?
Well, in my scope, I get a lot of referrals, so I'm blessed in that regard. It's been interesting when when this whole pandemic thing hit, the activity in the market when it initially happened. I was bracing for a drought, if you will, of activity, and it tampered off in March. I mean, because things were already in the pipe. It went down in April. But from May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, it's been nonstop. And I agree with what Scott was saying. You're not out there talking to folks anymore. You're doing all this stuff via video, so it makes it a little bit harder. So most of the stuff I've been dealing with have been either existing clients or referrals from past clients, or people that work in the same office or industry. So I've been fortunate in that regard. So that's sort of what I'm seeing right now, as far as looking out and trying to reach new folks. Trying to do a little bit of that, but I've been busy just maintaining the business I've got going right now.
So a lot of business that's coming your way over the years that you've been out there, and just people know you just have a good referral source that's just continuing to come in.
Yeah, and having a name like Dino Champagne helps too.
I need to borrow that name at least for a day. And so you deal with all asset classes, asset types. Okay, what type of assets are you seeing? Or is there a specific asset types that you're seeing more transactions with and less of others versus previous years?
Definitely. Right now, I'd say the bulk of what we're doing in the 1031 world, especially my book of business, has been residential income, apartments, some industrial, getting some land, retail and office, not seeing much in the movement of that far as people doing exchanges. And surprisingly enough, though, even some of the deals that we're doing on the commercial sector, they're finishing, so they're not falling out at this point. Not to say what's going to happen in January. I'm definitely not an economist, but I think that it'll be interesting to see what next year is going to bring in that regard. But things that have started through the pipe are getting through. Could that change? Possibly, based on what happens with the continuation of the lockdowns.
So part of our goal of today's presentation is to really figure out the connections, and here's some commonalities as to what what each of you are saying. And so far, what you're saying, Dino, is similar to what Willie's saying. Willie's starting to see a lot of activity as far as a smaller office space, as far as leasing, but a little bit less transactions on the purchase side. Where you're saying that something very similar, Dino, as far as office goes. There's not a lot of office transactions that you're seeing compared to previous years.
Right.
Very good. Okay, thank you. Daniel, okay, and maybe you could do a little self-introduction again to yourself, and tell us what you're seeing out there as far as asset classes. I mean, is there certain types of assets that are moving a little bit more? We're having, some information about office space. I mean, maybe you could chime in regarding office space. But Daniel?
Yeah, thanks, Gary. For myself, as being an SBA lender and doing owner-occupied commercial real estate, currently, we've seen pretty much everything. More focused on right now in regards to the office spaces is business professionals that are expanding out a little bit, just kind of like what Will was talking about in regards to getting a little bit more space in regards to meeting social distancing guidelines. We all understand the unique scenario that we're in, but a lot of people can't work from home. A lot of people don't have that ability. And, what we're seeing right now is some expansion. We've seen a lot more expansion of office professionals, professionals in the medical industry as well, whether dentists, optometrists, physicians. We're seeing that a lot come through, and what purchases that we're doing on the owner occupied side. The other side of it too is that we're seeing a lot of the vendors for essential workers expand as well. A lot of food manufacturing that we've been financing, as of as of recent. A lot of different plastic manufacturers, fabric manufacturing. We've seen a lot of that, as well as along with transportation and logistics. So as of right now, we're extremely busy, and we're seeing people expand. I mean, thankfully some businesses right now are expanding out. What's kind of funny is what we've also seen is restaurants. We've seen restaurants looking to be purchasing sites. Let's just say if they maybe have 1 to 2 locations. I mean, consolidating 2 locations and just purchasing one in an area where they've already established their client base. We've seen that as well. It's a good thing for us right now, and for some of our borrowers, that they have the ability to expand. But at the same time, we're having them just tread lightly, just to make sure that their business can sustain out for the next 12 to 24 months as well.
That's great, Daniel. Thank you for sharing that. Doug, unless you have anything else to add, because I think we're getting a consensus here as far as asset classes that are being moved more than others.
Right.
I see you as a wonderful resource, for myself and a lot of those in the commercial real estate industry, and you get a lot of business, and so as far as how are you staying in touch with people these days? It's kind of, as Dino said and Scott said, can't see people in person. What are you doing that's causing success for you, Doug?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to participate today. Great question. As you all know, we're all kind of locked out of visiting folks. So back in April, I just had to kind of redirect. I'm finding that texting, phone calls are the most successful opportunity for me in reaching current clients. I'm leveraging anybody that I've known in the industry that's still in the industry. I'm really heavily contacting them. To my surprise, they're not getting a lot of contacts. But again, it's the combination of phone calls, texting, emailing to a degree. People are just getting flooded with emails, I'm hearing, so I'm trying to be careful there. I am setting up personal meetings. There are people that are comfortable to get out and sit down and have a discussion. So it's all just kind of a new world, and whatever works, I'm just pursuing.
So when you say emails, Doug, let me ask you: are you doing like emails where you're doing like a constant contact blast to people, where just kind of like here's general information, or are your emails very specific and catered to individuals?
Well, I am involved with a CRM program. I do that, Gary, on a very limited basis. So in the title industry, there's not a lot that I can send out weekly about title insurance, escrow. I've found that to be, it's not something people want to read every other week. So we do special emails around holidays and whatnot. We do have a blog where we do a push pull. We send out posts. I work LinkedIn a lot. The main thing about working the internet marketing, the social media in today's world is to respond to people that are reaching out or sending information. There's a fine line there, and in my opinion, you just have to be careful not to overload the system, if you will.
When you said LinkedIn, I saw a couple of nods there from Scott and from Dino. So it sounds like each of you are doing something very similar, at least to LinkedIn. Could either one of you chime in and talk to us a little bit more as to either how you're using LinkedIn or social media for your business? Dino?
The LinkedIn, what I do on that is I'll put out information I think that is important to the real estate community. So if there's like when we had the SB 19, these bills that come up, if there's something in the 1031 space that's important, if there's been a change in the Treasury regulations, or if there have been extensions to the 4,580 days. So when I use LinkedIn, I use it more targeted, I'm not a constant user of it, because I think you can overdo it. Sort of like what Doug said, there's a point where there's saturation point. So I try to utilize it, and I put information I think that's valuable that people can actually use and then share with maybe their clients or their sources. And I notice that when I do that based on the topic, I can see that I'll get, 900 to, to 1,000 views. And to me, that means what I'm putting out there is pertinent and important information. So you just reminded me though, that I do have to post a new one because we in our last e-news that we just did, we had an interview with Lou Weller, who is prominent in the attorney and CPA in the 1031 space. So there was a Q&A with him. So I got to post that. So that'll be my thing this afternoon. And my boss thanks you.
Well, there you go. I haven't seen a post for you in a while, so I thought I let you know. Remind you. Just kidding. Scott, how are you using LinkedIn? Are you posting on there, or what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't post a lot. I maybe use it once a quarter at most. What I do, I kind of do it. I do it differently. I'm more one of those hunter searchers types of people, and I see a company and I'll type that company's in. I'll type in the position I'm looking for. I mean, to be kind of pretty just blunt and honest. I mean, that's what I do. That's more of like a cross-reference search for me. I try, like what Doug was saying, I agree with what Doug was saying. I try not to use it too much. You don't want to cross the line to where you're looking at it, you're just thinking, oh, someone else posted again. It's not that big of a deal. You kind of want to pick your spots. But that's the way I use it. I use it for hunting and finding.
Hunting and finding. Okay, very good. Willie, social media, virtual selling. What are you doing these days? What are you finding success with on the virtual side?
When I have a listing to sell or lease, I'm a strong proponent of using drone videos, virtual tours with videos. Matterport seems to be pretty popular. The challenge with Matterport is a very good program. However, it's not as user-friendly. And if you're not in the business, you're not sure how to use it. I've had great success with doing videos, drone videos, and having it done professionally with professional photographs. When I have my listings on different listing services, I always have a link to be able to attach it. I also do a website with the address of the property as the domain name, so people can just, when they Google it, a lot of things come up, not only on the listing services, but the drone videos. I also put my drone videos on YouTube. I found that really helps, and it's user-friendly, it's easy to use, it's professionally done with narration, graphics, besides the regular video. It's gone a long way, and it's really helped.
Let me ask you this, Willie. It sounds like you do a really good job of putting the content together. How do you distribute the content? How do you get it out to the hands of the people that should be looking at the space? If they're looking to buy a space or lease a space, how do you get it in their hands? What media sources do you use?
As I mentioned, and all the listing services, we use all the listing services out there, not just your typical AAR and CoStar. We go out to others also, and all my listing services have a link, so you can just click the link and it goes right to the video.
Got it.
And then also we do nice 4-page hard stock brochures, large quality color with all the information on it. And we give those out every time someone shows up to see space or inquires about it. We'll either email it to them or on an email inquiry or snail mail them if necessary. But we always present them with a nice brochure when they show up at a property. And that's for lease or sale. And every time I've put on these nice videos, I've either sold or leased the property every single time in a short period of time.
There you go. There's a secret. Okay, let me ask you this, because especially as people are being locked in and and they can't go out, right? The perception, at least that I'm hearing and the feeling, is that the only way to sell, or one of the main ways to sell, is through social media, right? LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. How much are you using those sources, and which ones are you using, if any?
We're not using Twitter or Instagram too much. We're using the typical stuff that we mentioned, like City Feet,
Right.
LoopNet, CoStar, AIR,
Right.
several others like that.
Right. Okay. Very good. Yeah. Thanks, William. How about you, Daniel? As far as the typical social media sites, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, you doing any of that?
Yeah, I mean, LinkedIn, definitely for sure, whether posting in regards to, effective rates that we have every single month, or, closing and fundings that we've accomplished in the area every single month. We try not to, blast, consistently. I mean, we are consistent with using it, but I mean, we're talking about maybe a few posts a week rather than, 3 to 5 posts every single day. In regards to utilizing Instagram and Facebook or Twitter, we have to be careful with it. We'll post to Instagram, whether it be, any type of promotional items, or try to spotlight some business owners that we've helped out in the past. Just our information, but we do have to be careful with it when it comes to highlighting people that we've worked with, just for privacy purposes in regards to financial institutions. But outside of that, we do get a lot of information and a lot of feedback in regards to, Instagram posts or LinkedIn posts, not too much Facebook.
Right. So, but it kind of sounds as if it's not really a main source as far as driving in new business. Was that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it would be a main source for it. I mean, I think it definitely helps get our name out there. But a lot of times what we will see, not so much in commercial property purchases, but let's just say if I was to post to an Instagram account or LinkedIn, we'll get an inquiry about another line of business that we have within the CDC, whether it be in regards to access to working capital, or possibilities, in regards to just SBA disaster loans or PPP loans as well.
Right. And so, let's switch this over to maintaining clients. Naturally during this time when it's hard to see our clients, there's a lot of people that want to work with our clients. Establishing that relationship and creating that trust. Doug, you have a large amount of clientele that's loyal to you. What do you do to maintain that loyalty?
Well, it all starts, with our service teams. We have some of the best individuals in the industry in our title and our escrow components. Number one. Number two, I spent a lot of time in my career working with professionals, both on the brokerage side, the lender side, on how to develop fee income for their personal business. And I have an entire program that I work with you as an individual. Anybody's welcome to reach out to me, and everybody has a different business platform. They have a different marketing platform. With my years in the career, I have many vetted opportunities to help individuals with their data needs, whether it's loan terms, interest rates. They want to update their customer base with recent ownership, all those things. And again, we're very gifted with our team internally in our data solutions departments. So anybody that's interested, keep me in mind. But that's been a real asset, especially this year.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. And Dino, you said something very similar. I mean, most of all your clientele this year is either existing business or referrals. I mean, is it just years of the networking? Everyone just knows you and your team. Do you have a secret sauce, that you could share with us? I mean, how do you maintain that loyalty? I mean, what do you do that's so special?
Well, I think years in the business helps. I mean, I'm going to be going 19 years starting March next year. So that definitely helps. I think a lot of it has to do with responsiveness to the client. I do my best to try to be very quick responding, trying to always be on top of it. My back staff in the back, the processing teams, like Doug was saying, I mean, I like to say I effect sales, they affect sales. And so, they do a good job. I mean, and they're overwhelmed right now in work, but I always let folks know that even though you're dealing with another team that actually is doing all the paperwork, I'm still available. So to let them know that I'm there to help them through if they have difficulty, say, because the teams are working on hundreds and hundreds of files at a time, if they need a question answered, they can always reach out to me. So I think that part of how I've done my business has helped me maintain and then gets the word out that, I really like talking to you. You take the time, because I don't rush people through things. And in our world, I have to tell you, my conversations generally are about minimum 30 minutes. Okay. So that's a lot of time spending with somebody you may or may not get an exchange with, or may not need to do an exchange. So that's one of the things too, is I'm pretty straightforward about, it's not about what is best for me, what's best for the client. So in my world, because it's a tax situation, I help them go through the numbers, always requiring that they confirm everything with their tax people. But if I see something that doesn't make any sense for them to do an exchange, I'll point it out right there. So I think some of that, helps in keep the referrals coming, that I'm pretty straightforward. I'll spend the time and I'll be patient with folks, because it's not an easy process. I like to say, this is a soup I sit in all day. You're new to the pool. So, it's a tough transaction. It's not as simple as people think it is once you get in the throes of it.
So it kind of sounds as if, one thing I'm hearing that's, fairly consistent, at least from each of you that have spoke, that a good portion of the business that you're currently working with is your existing clientele and people that you've, been kind of prospecting over the years, let's say pre-COVID. And so, which makes sense. Willie, how about those professionals that are looking to get into the business or just started off about a year ago or maybe 2 years ago and hasn't had the time to really get out there and to make a name for themselves or be recognizable? What do you tell a new person that wants to get into business like today? How can they survive?
Knowledge is power. I tell people to focus on one product type and one geographic area and get to know that area inside out. Every single transaction, whether a lease or sale, who the buyer, who the seller, who the broker, who the managers are. Contact the city officials, go to city planning meetings, get to know, if you got to get a CUP, get to know the process. Just know what's going on in a geographic area. Try to get as much knowledge as possible, because then people will come back to you with knowledge, asking you questions, and you'll be a resource for them. So knowledge is power, and it takes time to build up that. And as you are talking to people, people are going to gain confidence in you and go to you as the go-to person for that particular area.
Yeah, thanks, Willie. And Scott, I could tell you, everyone on the call, Scott is someone I always try to spend as much time with and listen to see what he's doing, because he's one of the best that I know, and all throughout, sales of really bringing in business and nurturing them. Scott, what do you do? I've seen some of your book of businesses and it's amazing. What do you do? You want to work with, ABC company, and you see them. What's your tactic that you've done? What tactics are you doing now to get in front of those folks where they don't know you at all?
Well, thanks, Gary. I don't know. I'm still working on a few things, but to answer the question, I think persistence. Get a name. Don't give up. Persistence, and it takes time. It could be you're going for a client or a customer that you've always wanted. Kind of attack them at all angles. Give them a call. Write them a letter that no one does anymore. Try not to blast their emails up. But the main thing, trying to get in front of them. But with COVID, it kind of it's not going to happen for, for a little longer. So, but, for the existing clients, and this is for everybody. I mean, for our businesses, if you think of one of your loyal customers, just, give them a call, just to say hi, just how you doing? How's the family? How you been, especially during COVID. I think those, and then sometimes those calls go a step further and they, sometimes they say, oh, I was going to call you. I got something for you, 2 months down the road. I think those calls are pretty powerful. Or, leave a message instead of just sending an email, because anybody can send an email. That's, I'm still working on a few things and always trying to be creative and trying to find new business and take care of the customers that you already have.
Right. That's great. So let me ask you this, Scott. So you're driving down the freeway, right? And you see a company is, something's happening there, right? Whether they're moving in right now, or they have, they're over parked and everyone's double parked and there's inventory sitting outside, and you think that's a prime business for them to move. What's your first point of contact? Are you sending them a letter? Are you calling them? Are you looking up at LinkedIn, or what are you doing?
Yeah, all of those. If I'm driving down the freeway and I see a building and I was like, that looks like a pretty nice building to call on, I'll call them. I'll call them and I'll do some research on them. I'll type in the name of the company on LinkedIn and type in the title I'm looking for, call that person, and I don't find anything, I'll stop by. I don't now, but I'll stop by if I have the time and given the circumstances. And then and I got this from you is, I think we know each other for 9 years now, but every call you make, every email you send, make sure you write it down, or else it's not really worth it. So, make sure you just keep adding to the database, and so you always have somebody to call on, always have somebody to contact.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that, because I've always been a true believer. I mean, if you're going to make a contact with someone, you got to have a follow-up system, because
Right.
if there is no follow-up, I mean, that time that you spent with that person, it's going to be pretty much wasted for the most part. Well, thank you for that. Okay, Daniel, you're super busy these days. Things are going bonkers, it sounds like, and this is probably true for all of us. I assume most of us are working from home, or we're going into the office, some of the time, or maybe all the time. But during this time of COVID, are you working more hours, Daniel, today compared to pre-COVID? Are you working less hours, or how has your schedule of work changed?
I don't think it's really changed too much. I mean, for what I do, it was mostly out and about every single day, either, hearing, getting emails, responding to emails later at night or early in the morning. I think the one difference that we've had has been, the outside gatherings, right? Like how we haven't been able to accomplish that in meeting people face to face. But I think the workload has pretty much really stayed the same, considering that most of us were doing work remotely anyways. The one thing that we do that we don't have the ability to do now is just, the events that we would host from before. I think that's the one thing that's kind of been taken off of our plate. But outside of that, everything has pretty much stayed pretty consistent with what it was in the past.
Okay. Willie, work hours. I mean, are you working more these days or less these days?
I'm actually working more. And what's interesting now, instead of commuting, I'm spending time working. So I'm, in the morning, instead of driving, I'm on the phone. Like last night, you called me 7 o'clock. I was still working. The opportunities there, you want to get a hold of people. If you're not fast, you're last. You got to be responding to people quickly. And my phone automatically, if you call my office, it automatically goes to my cell phone, because if I don't answer the phone, they'll call the next broker and I'll lose the deal. So I'm working more hours. I'm trying to be as receptive, as accessible to people as much as possible.
Got it. Dino, I know you're always working. Are you working more or less these days?
I'm probably working, I would say about the same, but just different and there's times where, I hate not being able to be out and going to events and seeing everybody, like Willie was talking about earlier. You miss the in-person stuff. But when I think about what we're doing right now, to be driving 4 to 5 hours a day, which I'm sure Doug and Scott both can appreciate, that just means I would be working even longer. So, my average day is probably about 10 hours, 10 to 12. Just trying to stay on top of things because it's like spinning plates in my world. I need this from that word. I'm looking for the title commitment here. I need the contract there, and everybody's all across the board. So probably about the same, but different, and no driving. So that helps.
Yeah, I know for me, it's certainly, roll out of bed and you jump on the computer, and it's been pretty great. I've been saving a lot of gas money for sure. I think all of us, right?
Yeah.
And I think certainly we're finding some efficiencies here with Zoom, and we're gonna do a little thing here and kind of try this out and to see how it goes. We're gonna do a little lightning round of kind of what just if you agree, or if this is happening to you, panelists, just raise your hand and say, "Yep, that's me." Or if it doesn't apply to you, then go ahead and put your hand down. But as far as your business today compared to last year, do you have more transactions that you're working on today versus last year or less? So put your hand up if you have more. Okay. Less transactions? Less transactions, okay. Okay. Social media. How much of you are using more social media today versus last year? Put your hands up if you're using more social media today versus compared to last year. Okay, less social media? Maybe the same, probably? Okay, all right. As far as your experience with multifamily and residential, are you finding more activity today with residential or less activity? Put your hand up if you're finding more activity with residential multifamily deals. Less. Okay, and I'm assuming everyone else is the same. And I see some of our attendees putting up their hand too, and that's great. Thanks for participating. And yeah, why don't we get the attendees part of this as well? As far as office space goes, I think we know the answer here, but just to confirm, are we seeing more transactions, let's say purchase-wise with office space, or less transactions office-wise this year? And I'm going to put my hand up for this one, saying I'm at least my personal experience, I actually see a little bit more office transactions this year compared to previous years, because as Willie was saying before, is that there are businesses that need some additional space for themselves, and so okay, well good. I think this was a really good session, and I thought we saw some consistencies here. And again, the point is to try to find those consistencies, between each of you. I highly respect each of you and what you do. And I know each of you are grinding it out every single day. And I wanted to get a better understanding and share with the group as to what you're seeing boots on the ground, to kind of give us some idea as to what's happening out there. Again, if everyone's doing it, or we see most people are doing or seeing the same things, it creates some consistency and it starts to create some certainty. And so in closing, does anyone have any closing words? Willie, anything that you would like to close out with?
We're service providers, and my clients, my business is repeat referral business, and I provide other services. When a tenant has an estoppel, an escalation increase, a building operating increase, they always come to me, and I don't charge them for that service, but it keeps me engaged, keeps me in contact, because out of sight, out of mind, you got to be in contact with your clients. So my clients know that I will provide services for them and not nickel and dime them to death, and that's really helped. This is a people relationship business, and the more we really provide that service, the better off we're going to be.
I agree. Thank you. Dino, closing words?
I would say that, find what works, and then also be open to things that are just a little bit out of the norm and that may not be something that you would think would fit into the stream that you're swimming down, but could actually open up more tributaries, if you will. We're going to use the water analogy here, but just to keep looking for other ways to grow and influence your industry and your business. I've picked up some things from this talk today with Willie and Scott and Daniel and Doug. Some of the things that they're doing reminds me of what I should be doing or need to be doing, because right now, while we're super busy, when that flattens, where are you going to be going? Oh no. So, just be open to what new avenues are out there to help grow your business and help service the clients.
Thank you. Doug, closing words?
Yes, be a consistent information source for your clientele. Absolutely. And there are free media programs you can subscribe to get data every day, like Connect, BizNow, Marcus and Millichap has good information, Globe Street, France Media. These are all free information sources to help you generate ideas to discuss with your client. And in closing, Tycor Title Company, Newport Beach, National Commercial Division, we're here. We service the entire country. We can do title. We can augment your escrow services. I don't interfere with your escrow relationships that you have. We can infill in states where maybe they're not licensed. But thank you for your time, and I really appreciate the opportunity.
Well, thank you for all your support as well, Doug. Thank you. Scott, closing words.
Thanks for having me. That was fun. Learned a lot. Still have a lot to learn. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. All right, Daniel, closing words.
Yeah, I think it was great, Gary. Learned a lot of information from pretty much everybody to see what is outside of what we all do in our own profession. So thanks for having us on. I mean, if there's anything that, like Doug was saying, we just want to be an information resource. So if there's anything that I can assist with in regards to answering questions in regards to the SBA space, commercial property purchases, or just kind of what we're seeing overall right now and during our time, please feel free to reach out, and I'm always here to help out. Even if it's just any type of questions or trying to get some type of comparison to help out your guys' clients as well. So thanks, Gary.
Yeah, thank you, Daniel. I appreciate your time here. And what I'm hearing is something very consistent and across the board here. And one thing I really, really love about our SoCal CCIM chapter is that we're filled with resources and we're filled with help. Right. So I know if I have a question on 1031 exchanges, Dino, I know who to call. If I have questions on construction, on financing, on moves, on title, on accounting, on legal, or whatever it is, I mean, we are a true organization where someone could pick up the phone and get answers right away, and got people who would love to talk to you, love to hear from you. And I think I'm really talking more to the attendees right now. And so I want to encourage everyone to continue, staying with us in SoCal CCIM. It's a really true group that's real professional and is really caring. And I've had an opportunity to do a transaction with each of you, and I can tell you, each of you are amazing. I see the attendees that are on the call. I mean, you've got some amazing people here. And so just want to thank our panelists, thank our attendees for attending. Thank you for all the support that you've given me as your SoCal CCIM president. This is our last Lunch and Learn for the year, but we have many, many more opportunities and a lot more growth for all of us to continue to expand and help grow each other's business. And so panelists, attendees, I want to thank you so much for your time. Have wonderful holidays. Please stay safe out there. And again, SoCal CCIM is here as a resource for you. If you have any questions, give us a call. But again, thank you all for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gary, if I might add something, thank you for your leadership this year. It's not been an easy year, and you've kept this group together with all your efforts and basically, you know, doing everything to keep it together through this whole Zoom stuff. So you've done an incredible job. So we're all thankful for what you've been able to accomplish this year in keeping this group together, albeit video. Okay, but fantastic job, Gary.
Thank you, Dina.
Here, here.
Indeed.
Yeah, thank you. And I trust, and I thank each of you for your trust and confidence that you've given me in this group, and all of our board and all of our sponsors and everyone that I've talked to throughout the year. I've received a lot of support, and I can't say I can't do it without everyone's support. And so, you know, but I'm still here. You know, I'm still going to be around, naturally, all of us. And we have Eric Frickel, you know, our incoming president for next year, and he's going to do an amazing job. And you know, and I heard some of the things that he has in store for us, and so I'm very excited for all of us and all of us that are members of SoCal CCIM. But again, thank you all for your support, and please stay safe over the holidays, and we'll talk to everybody soon. All right, everyone. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.